Business people are always looking for the perfect conditions to do something. There will always be something that, if you possess, would make your goals infinitely easier to achieve. And that's the business rat race. If only I had X. If only the market conditions were Y. If only our customers started doing Z. You'll always find something that feels like a barrier to your success. But in business and life, success comes from leveraging your current position and continuously improving. And all of that begins by making a drastic change now. I want to talk about those three things a little bit because I'm still working on them and they've already been changing the way that I look at business and look at my own life. And I'm sure you're feeling the same. Welcome to Business is Scary, where we dissect various business concepts like money, marketing, and business management with a human centric approach. If you like such topics, make sure you subscribe so you stay notified of all of our weekly content. Now, let's talk about continuous improvement. I like this one quote by Grecian poet Archilochus, where he said, "We don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training." Famously copied by James Clear. This saying really illustrates what we ought to focus on. We often look to our end goals and we make these grand ideas of what we ought to do with our lives in the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever have you. And then we make smaller goals in order to achieve those things. And goal setting is fantastic, it's good. But now is the best time to achieve any of those. Sometimes people make these goals down the line and then they just have goals, right? But what systems are we putting in place so that we actually achieve them? And what lifestyle are we living so that we actually achieve them? How are we putting our best foot forward to give ourselves a fighting chance of achieving any of the goals we have? Because we don't rise to those goals, and it's not the people who make the best goals that become the best players. It's people who create the best systems. And in today and for the next week and every single week in perpetuity, I will do X. And I used to struggle with this so much where I didn't have an internship. So I want to be able to do this and that. And when I get my internship, I'll then do this. And when the YouTube works out, I'll be able to work on this thing. And when this thing works out, then I'll build this company. And I have all these great plans of the domino effect of, if this one thing happens, everything else that will happen. And seldom did I look at my current state and say, what do I need to be working on right now? And when I changed that, I saw so much growth inside of my life with my professional skills, when it came to my technical skills, even my time management, and how happy I am on a day to day basis because I'm always showing up to these small things and I'm not thinking about these bigger goals. I'm just thinking about whether I went to the gym as many times as I said I would this week. And when we look at our present state and we look at where we're at right now, and making sure that at the bare minimum, if you already read a book per week, at the bare minimum, we need to do that. But then we look at continuous improvement and we look at, how do I improve on this thing? I already eat 3 times a day. How can I make sure that in those 3 meals, I am putting a protein? Any protein. Just make sure that there's a protein in each meal, right? Or I already practice an instrument once a month. Sometimes I'll just pick up the guitar. How do I make sure that even if that's one time a month, those guitar sessions are organized and they're intentional? I practice my scales and then I try out a new song. Or if it's a song that I'm learning, I practice very heavily this one chord that I keep struggling with. I stopped playing the guitar because of F chord. I hated it. Things like that, where we take what we have and how do we expand on it. And this has been famously coined as the Kaizen model. No, not domain expansions and getting your torso separated from your legs. Kaizen, as in the Japanese business philosophy. And what this argues is that at every point in time, what are little improvements? They can be big ones, they can be little ones, but there needs to be improvement. And this was used famously by Toyota. And they made an incredible company out of it. To this day, Toyota creates cars on a just in time model. They do not have cars just sitting inside of a lot. They are created the second you make the order. I did a whole project on them for one class. I went to the factory, I got a tour. It was amazing. And they still do those tours that are completely public. If you're in Toronto and you're in driving distance from their manufacturing facility, I highly recommend that you go take that tour. It's amazing. And they use this model to make faster and faster cars at the point in time in which you order it. And they cut costs, but they do not cut customer satisfaction and employee satisfaction. They're a fantastic company and they illustrate Kaizen so well. For us, when we are looking to make changes inside of our lives, let's start with small, incremental, and meaningful ones. If you're going to make a change or if you're going to improve the way that you do something, make it make sense. If I wake up in the morning and I say, I'm going to read 3 books this month, that's a great goal. And honestly, I'm so glad that you are reading books now. But why? What are the books? What do you hope to achieve? Is it just reading books for the sake of it? Chances are that improvement, and based on where what you were reading before, were you going from 1 book a month to now 3? That's not very incremental. And how meaningful is it? For myself, I want to start reading, but I want to start reading manga and business books, one for pleasure and one so that I'm learning new topics and I have things to say that are new and informative on videos like these. But then it also helps my mind as I get more senior inside of my undergraduate career. But I think most important of all, and according to Newton's law, when we are trying to make anything start moving, we need quite a bit of force to get it from a resting state to a moving one. Our lives are exactly the same. If you want the boulder that is your life to go from a resting state into it moving and rolling and, in perpetuity, it means that you need to make that push now. For myself, I had been very lackluster in my fitness, whether I went to the gym some months, didn't go some months, and I would often complain and I'd say, oh my goodness, like if only I had more time. I wish I was going to the gym more. I wish I was more fit. I wish I was more athletic. I lost a lot of that when I left high school. Or I was saying, man, business, like I just wish that I was in more of like a senior role and I finally got to that point where I like have a business or people believe in the businesses that I create, right? It was all this, oh man, I wish, I wish, I wish. I wish I spent more time traveling. I wish my finances were better, whatever have you. The big push for me was locking in. And that meant creating a budget spreadsheet and looking at how much debt I have and where my money was actually going. It meant actually having a gym routine and having an eating plan. Doesn't have to be something strict like you can only eat chicken breast, right? But there needs to be a plan. I didn't have a plan before. I just ate, right? I just ate food when I was hungry. But actually a plan of like 3 meals a day and here's how they need to be spaced out. Here's the snacks that we're allowed to eat. Here's how much we're allowed to spend on going out to eat. Here's how often I need to post videos. Here's how often I need to be working on my skills and talking to different people in my circle about the projects that I'm working on. And now one of my biggest problems is when am I going to find the time to read in all of this hecticness with internship and school and YouTube and working on projects? When am I finding the time to relax, rest, read something either for pleasure or just read a fun business book or maybe even travel? I had to create a system because we do not rise to our goals, we fall to our systems. All in all, I want you to give yourself a fighting chance. You're making goals and you have aspirations for yourself, and that's wonderful. That is amazing. And I'm so glad that you've taken that step and you at least see in your life the things that you need to change and improve on. That's amazing, but give yourself a fighting chance. It's not enough to have these goals. A lot of people in grindset mindset think that if they just think in a certain way, certain things in their life will change. They don't. Things change in your life because you change them or someone else will change them, but we're not banking off of that. We're looking at what we can do. And what you can do is sit down and be realistic and say, here's the current state of my life. Here's where I want it to be, and here's what I need to do every single day, every single week. Here's how I need to show up for myself, for my future self, but not just the future self, for my present self. And when you do that, you will see that you improve. Little by little, you slowly get there to the point where 3 months later, 4 months later, you don't even recognize yourself. I look in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, all this, oh man, I'm not there yet. I don't have a Toji body yet, I don't have this or that or my finances or whatever. And months go by and I feel healthier. I wake up in the morning and I feel rested, you know. I don't have back pains and I don't feel sore all the time. Um my mental state is a lot better. I look at my finances and I feel like I have more money per month, but I had to do all these different changes and I had to be very brutal with myself. And it was tough. And I felt like quitting a lot of times. And sometimes I still do, and that'll probably still happen inside the future. But it's very hard to stop something that you're already doing for a long time. Just like Newton's law. It's very hard to stop a boulder that's already rolling. You would have to have an equal force to stop you, right? And I hope that that force never meets you, right? I hope you roll in perpetuity and you keep getting bigger and bigger and you achieve those goals. But man, it's going to be tough, so why not start the tough stuff now? Continuous improvement is a fantastic model for helping us actually reach our goals in a way that is sustainable, in a way that we don't hate ourselves. I mean, also depends on like how you create those goals, but I'm more than confident that using all of these building blocks, that you'll start heading in the path that you are proud of, and that you can look and you say, you know what, I'm really doing something for myself. It helped me and it's helped my mental state and it's helped me to be able to make these videos and work on other projects in a way that I'm not miserable every day and I just put my head down and don't embrace the human side of my human existence. You know what I mean? You definitely need that. You definitely need a system and you need to find a way to be happy and feel fulfilled because business is already scary as it is.